Right now, there are thousands of licensed appraiser trainees sitting on informal waiting lists across the country. They're unable to find a single mentor willing to train them inside an industry that essentially every headline and many of its participants keep telling you is dying. And while that sounds pretty bad, I'm going to show you why it's the biggest opening and opportunity that I think this profession has handed a new person in at least 10 years or better. And almost nobody trying to break in has figured this out yet. And if you're already a licensed trainee or you're seriously thinking about becoming an appraiser, and every message you send to a potential mentor gets ignored or turned down, which we hear a lot, you've come to the right place. Because in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what changed in this profession over the last few months, why it just handed you the single best opening line and opportunity that you could use with a mentor this year, and how to walk your way through a door that's been more or less bolted shut for some time now. So you stop looking like a burden and you start looking like an answer to a problem that's currently keeping a lot of working appraisers up at night. If you're new here, my name is Blaine, appraisal company owner. I'm an investor, martial artist, former Zen monk, and I help appraisers and entrepreneurs build businesses that grow beyond them and eventually can be sold. And I appreciate you being here. Now, over the last 5 years or so, I've done at least 4 episodes, maybe 5, specifically for appraiser trainees and wannabe appraisers on how to find a mentor, how to think about the whole process, how to position yourself. So I recommend going back and listening to those if you haven't, because the psychology in those episodes hasn't aged a day, nor has the strategies that I talked about. And I'll try to put some of the links to the episodes in the commentary below or in the description. But something has changed since I recorded those episodes, and it kind of changes the entire conversation for anybody trying to break into this business right now. So today I'm giving you the update, and I'm handing you the specific line or lines to use that, while of course I can't guarantee you success in finding a good mentor, I think it's one of the best opportunities that you're probably going to get. Now, by the end of this video, you're going to have the exact strategy and line for approaching a potential appraiser mentor. So here's the setup. And I want to be honest with you about my own reaction to it at first. Every single appraiser in America who does lending work specifically is being forced to relearn really a big part of their job. Not the appraising part, that hasn't changed, but the reporting part. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two big, they're called GSEs, government service entities, they're retiring the forms that most of us have used our entire careers. After November 2nd, I believe, of this year, every appraisal sold off to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac has to be delivered on something called the UAD 3.6 form. Now, most appraisers are going to argue with you about this and say it's not a form, Blaine. But for our purposes, we're just going to call it a form. But essentially, this new form that isn't a form is a dynamic, very data-driven report that kind of reshapes itself based on the property that you're appraising and the assignment and the answers you put into it. They've been building toward this since probably sometime in 2018. It went into broad production in January, and it's supposedly the deadline is set for November. Now, when I first started reading into what the UAD 3.6 change actually meant for my own company, I felt the same knot in my stomach that I'd bet a lot of veteran appraisers are feeling right now. 26 years in this business, 7 companies built, 3 of which were all appraisal companies. And I still had that moment of, wait, you're telling me I have to relearn how I do my job? The job we've gotten really, really good at? I mean, we've built our entire workflow around forms that we've been filling out since before some of you trainees were born. So our speed, our profitability, the muscle memory, all of it's tied to a system that's essentially about to disappear, or supposedly disappear. And now we've got to relearn or learn a whole brand new form that's not a form. We got to learn a brand new terminology, more granular fields than we've ever dealt with, a lot more data required for the form. And while still essentially turning a profit, while still turning reports around for clients who don't particularly care that you're relearning your job in real time. But here's the turning point for me, and it's the whole reason that I'm recording this episode, because I realized the fear that I've talked about in every prior trainee episode that I did, the fear that the mentor pours years into you, the trainee, and then you walk off and you become their competitor in a year or two. That fear hasn't gone away. That's the same, and that will probably never change. It's still real, and it still happens most often to mentors who aren't necessarily running their businesses well. No offense to them, but usually it's because they have nothing to offer a trainee beyond a certain point. But a second fear just showed up. It just exploded onto the scene this year. And for a huge chunk of appraisers right now, it's bigger than the first fear. It's the fear of falling behind on their own technology. It's the fear of having to slow down, relearn something new, and potentially lose money. And once I saw it that way, I stopped seeing or feeling behind, and I started seeing this transition for what it actually is, which I think is the best entry point trainees have had in years. And almost nobody trying to get into this business has really connected the dots yet, or at least I haven't heard anybody talking about it. Every software provider in this space is scrambling right now. I mean, every one of them. The big 800-pound gorilla in the industry, a la Mode Total, is racing to get its other productivity tools integrated with the new format. They don't even have their own UAD 3.6 software finished yet. Bradford Technology is running a beta release of a whole new platform. ACI just got their software certified by both GSEs this summer for the new 3.6 form. New players that didn't exist a couple years ago. This is another huge opportunity. There's never been more opportunities for software than there is right now. Companies like Freedom, Appraise, Ivory, Regora, True Footage, they're all building tools essentially from scratch. Your average solo appraiser scrambling to answer two questions. Do I stay in this business? And how do I keep making a living through what looks like a major, major disruption to my workflow? And have no doubt, friends, it's going to be a major disruption to your workflow. You want to know what a mentor's pain sounds like out loud? It sounds like, I don't have time to learn a whole new reporting system on top of everything else that I have to do. It sounds like my software keeps sending me emails that I don't have time to read, putting out webinars I don't have time to watch. It sounds like I don't even know which of these new platforms I should be moving to. Should I be trying this one that has some AI baked into it? Should I be trying this one? And you can read that exact fear on every appraisal forum, every Facebook group, and every state association email list in the country right now. You don't need to research your target market's fears this time, which is what I talked about and one of the suggestions in some of the earlier episodes, because they're screaming them into the void. But this episode isn't about me feeling behind or about appraisers feeling behind. Telling you that story doesn't matter unless it changes the behavior, unless it changes what you do with that information. So let's zoom out a bit. What does all of this actually mean for you sitting there trying to get your foot in the door and become an appraiser, which, by the way, is a great career and I still think has many years as a great career? There's three things I want you to walk away with today. Lesson number one, go deep on the new form that's not a form and all of the UAD 3.6 changes before you make even a single call or send a single email or send out a single email. Know what you're talking about. My old advice in those old episodes, those prior episodes, was learn the terminology, learn the software, learn the workflow, learn the fears of your supposed or potential mentor so that you sound educated when you finally get a conversation. And that advice still holds. But now, friends, it's not just about sounding educated. It's about actually walking in as the answer to the exact thing that might be keeping your potential mentor up at night. And trust me, I coach a lot of appraisers. We're having these conversations in every coaching call. What are they doing? What are they going to do? Have they played with the new form yet? Yes, no. Is the software working? Everything I taught you in those prior episodes, and one of the main pillars of both my business building career and my coaching career, is about adding value. And that's what I'm suggesting you continue to do. Spend real hours understanding what this change means, what the format is moving from static forms to one dynamic report that expands and contracts based on the property, that it leans heavily on drop-down pick lists instead of free form commentary and narrative in a lot of the places on the form, that ANSI, ANSI measurement standards are getting folded in more formally, where they kind of had just been, they were required, but now they're going to be part of the form. And then, of course, all the old form numbers that appraisers have heard their whole careers, like the 1004 form, the 1025, and the 1073, they're supposedly being retired for good, never to be used again, except maybe on the private side, which I recommend all appraisers and appraiser potential mentors make sure they're diversifying into the private side. But nevertheless, watch the free training webinars. that software companies are putting out. Go walk through. You don't have to be an appraiser to watch those webinars. They're all over Facebook, and you can get on email lists whether you're an appraiser or not. Nobody requires your appraisal license or an appraiser number to get on those email lists. Go watch a walkthrough of click forms and total and ACI and freedom and ivory and TrueTrax. Even if you're never going to touch that specific software, it's going to make you more well-rounded and be able to converse better with a potential mentor should you be able to get a conversation. You're not trying to become an expert. You're not even trying to become an appraiser. You're trying to sit across from a 26-year appraiser like me and say something true and specific, not, I heard there's a new form coming. So that's lesson one. Go deep on the big changes that are coming. Lesson two, use the opening line that didn't exist a year ago. That's why I say this is a huge opportunity. Everything I taught you before about not asking for an apprenticeship, not asking for somebody to help you get your hours, just asking for a short conversation and thinking about how you add value still applies. All the information I gave you in 4 other episodes still apply. What's new is the line itself. Something like this. Hey, I know you're probably in the middle of figuring out the UAD 3.6 transition like every other appraiser. And I've been digging deep into this whole thing, and I genuinely love to trade some notes or have a quick conversation for, say, 10 minutes. And if there's anything I've picked up that would save you time and money, I'm happy to share it. Friends, that is a completely different email, video, or voicemail than, yeah, I'm looking for a supervisor to mentor me so I can get my hours in, which, by the way, is pretty standard. One of those sounds like a headache walking through the door, a lot of time lost, a lot of efficiency lost, and a lot of money lost, and potentially a new competition for somebody like me a year or two down the road. And the other one sounds like relief. One sounds like months of lost revenue and a future competitor. The other sounds like a partner. It sounds like additional revenue. It sounds like helping an appraiser like me growing the business and maybe a necessary upgrade to their system, all in one package. That's your job. And by the way, don't forget your AI advantage here. Many of you are AI natives, where the potential mentors that you might be talking to are not. Nobody handed you that. If you aren't using AI to soak up everything available about a career that you say you want, I hate to say it, friends, you don't want it enough. Most veteran appraisers are still using things like ChatGPT, like a fancy search engine and an autocomplete, if they're even using it at all. And I know many aren't. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to be fluent enough that you're one more asset walking through the door instead of one more headache or one more obligation. Friends, start playing around with the tools like Claude Code and Claude Cowork. Learn to use AI for more than just a fancy Google search, and you make yourself infinitely more valuable than the person who hasn't done those things. So that's lesson 2. Lesson 3, know the real market data so that you walk in with confidence instead of desperation. There's a lot of doom and gloom talk in appraiser forums right now, and most of it is either outdated or wildly overstated, which isn't unique to this industry. It's especially common in ours. There's a decidedly negative skew or bent in the appraisal industry. I don't necessarily know why, but mortgage rates have been kind of sitting stubbornly around, say, 6.25%, 6.5% as of this recording in mid-2026, higher than, of course, the forecasters expected and were telling us last year, partly because of international instability, which is pushing the Fed to hold the line on inflation longer than anybody wanted or anticipated. Of course, existing home sales are still expected to grow this year, but just modestly. Not the double-digit bounce back that many economists predicted, say, 6 to 12 months ago. Home price growth has slowed to something closer to keeping pace with inflation, which after the last several years is honestly healthier, even if it doesn't feel exciting. Some markets are actually declining, though, after years of rapid increases. But here's the piece that actually matters most to you. There is a documented, serious shortage of newly licensed appraisers in this country, and it's getting worse, not better. Now, I didn't say a shortage of licensed appraisers. That's one of the more pernicious myths floating around. I said a shortage of newly licensed appraisers. There's something of a shortage of appraisers, but it's not necessarily what you're being told. The real skinny on that is simply that there's a shortage of appraisers willing to take low fee orders at breakneck speed for ungrateful AMCs, which is what generated all those shortage of appraiser headlines. Nevertheless, what's actually documented is thousands, and I mean thousands, of aspiring appraisers on informal waiting lists nationally who simply can't find a supervisor. They can't find an appraiser who's able and willing to train them. And the bottleneck isn't demand. for appraisers. The bottleneck is demand for mentors willing and able to train. And that is not a market where you should be discouraged. That's a market practically begging for someone who knows how to walk through the door the correct way, with the right information, the right line, and the right education. And I'm going to be straight with you on the AI question because I get it all the time. I know some of you wonder if this whole industry gets automated out from under you before you even get licensed, because there's a lot of veteran appraisers who are talking like that. Friends, AVMs, automated valuation models, have been around as long as I've been doing this, 26 plus years. And desktop appraisals and appraisal waivers are definitely expanding. There's no lie about that. They're expanding for lower risk transactions, probably transactions that just simply don't need an appraisal. That is real, and I've covered it in many episodes. And we talk about it all the time in the Increase Academy, by the way. But the shortage of trainees isn't happening because AI took the jobs. It's happening because the entry path into the appraisal industry is broken. Mentors are scarce, scared, tired, and now also having to relearn their entire job, their entire reporting system. Demand for skilled human judgment on nuance, complex properties, disputes, anything that doesn't fit neatly into an algorithm's comfort zone, friends, those aren't going anywhere. The appraisers who come out the other side of this transition fluent and confident are going to be more valuable, not less. Plain and simple. They're going to be able to add more value for their clients because the bar for knowing what you're doing, well, it just got higher. And most of the industry hasn't cleared even the basic bar yet. Now, at the end of the day, this isn't about being perfect or having some dramatic story to tell a mentor. You don't have to create something that doesn't exist. No, it's about taking one small specific step this week instead of sending the same tired message that everybody else is sending. I see your posts in the forums, friends. I see the people who say, I've sent out 100 resumes and gotten nothing back. One, I doubt you sent out 100 resumes, but I also doubt seriously that you made a video like I suggested and that you actually had some value proposition for a potential mentor. So here's your homework. And if you're serious about a career in appraising real estate, I want you to actually do it, not just nod along like you're going to. First, spend real time this week on the new form that's not a form, on the UAD 3.6 training materials from at least 2 software providers. Just pick 2. I recommend Alamo Total just because it's the biggest in the industry. It's the incumbent. Even if there's ones you don't think you're ever going to use, learn them. There's value in that just so you can speak intelligently across the landscape. And if you actually get a conversation with a potential supervisor or mentor. Second, build your list of target mentors exactly the way I taught you in the earlier episodes. If you haven't watched those or listened to those podcasts, go back and listen to them. Third, redo your video introduction or build one for the first time. Again, if you haven't listened to any of those episodes, it's one of the things I suggest doing. And I suggest it to everybody, whether you're a potential trainee or an existing appraiser. Start using video. Make your face, your voice, your hand gestures, your personality, your rationale, your understanding of the market, and your expertise and authority known to the market, not just a signature on the bottom of page 6. So redo your video introduction if you have one, or build one for the first time, and work the specific UAD 3.6 offer into the first 15 seconds, not buried in paragraph 3 or minute 4 of your video. Keep it short and get right to the point. Here's how I can add value. That, friends, is the hook that gets you a callback potentially right now. That's third. Fourth, when you get your 5 or 10 minutes with somebody, and remember, that's all you're looking for. You're not trying to get married to your mentor or your supervisor. That's where so many trainees make the mistake. They call up an appraiser potential supervisor mentor and they go, hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me get my hours, or I'm looking for somebody to take on me as a responsibility. Whatever they say that sounds very frightening to a potential mentor like me, stop saying that. Stop trying to get married on the first date. What you're trying to get is 5 or 10 minutes of my time or of an appraiser mentor's time. That's what you're going for. Then ask them directly how the transition is going for them, the transition to the new UAD 3.6, and then shut up and just listen. You're going to learn more about how to actually help that person in the first 90 seconds of them venting about their software than you will in a month of guessing or a year of trying. Every big shift in every industry creates a short window where the old guard is scrambling and the new blood has a chance to walk through a door that's usually bolted shut. There's been a big moat around the industry, and this is a bridge across the moat. Most of that window that opens up when an opportunity is created, it gets wasted because most people either don't notice it's open or they notice it and then they still lead with the same tired crap that everybody else is using. Friends, don't be most people. You've got a real, specific, timely reason to reach out to a working appraiser right now that has nothing to do with asking for a handout. So use it. Now, will it work? Who knows? I don't guarantee anything, but we know what doesn't work because those data points exist. Begging for an opportunity that isn't always a great opportunity for the person who is being asked to grant it. Until the opportunity for gain is bigger than the fear of loss for the person holding the key to your future, the door stays closed. And if you don't understand that psychology, I recommend you get familiar with it. Friends, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, trying to figure out that video pitch that I just recommended, or your target list of mentors and supervisors, or you just want an accountability partner while you navigate this whole process, that's a big part of what we do inside the Increase Academy. I'd love to have you join a conversation. Over there, you can find it at www.coachblaine.com/free month. You can try it out for 30 days. If it's for you, awesome. If not, nothing lost. Everything gained. Also, let me know in the comments what your experience has been. How many times have you tried reaching out to a mentor and gotten nothing in return? We'll talk through what you actually did and what I think you should do. What do you see on the horizon? Where do you see things going? Not only in the real estate and appraisal industry, but whatever industry you may have some experience in, because I know things like this are not just happening to appraisers or real estate agents or lenders. And oh, by the way, if you like content like this, you know what to do with the subscribe button. Friends, do more, be more, live more, give more. We'll see you on the next one.